animals for entertainment, and this was an extract of the movie Water for Elephants. And now we are going to talk about that.
Okay. A circus is a company of performers that may include acrobats, clowns, trained animals, trapeze, hoppers, jugglers, and other object manipulation. A variety of animals have historically been used for acts. The type of animals used in acts are tigers, elephants, horses, birds, sea lions, bears, and the most common are the domesticated ones. The involvement of animals in circuses was just a display of exotic creatures. Going as far back as the early 18th century, animals were transported to North America to display. The first animal act was the equestrian act, and then elephants and big cats were introduced as well. Isaac Van Amber entered the cage of several big cats in 1833, and it was considered the first wild animal trainer in American circus history. Although some children dream of running away to join the circus, it is a safe bet that most animals forced to act in circus dream of running away from the circus. Animals used in circuses are captives who are forced under threats or punishment to perform uncomfortable, repetitious, confusing, and also painful acts. Animals and clowns or actors. For example, bears, elephants, tigers, they don't perform acts because they want to, but they do it because they are afraid of what will happen if they don't. To force them to perform, trainers use whips, muscles, bull hooks, tight collars, and other. No, that's
For training.
No, that is just a part here. It doesn't matter. Another painful tools to about the trade.
I'm going to talk about more the income or the economy. Something to add to Marina says about the throw the rubbish to the ocean. Nowadays we have 2 islands of rubbish bigger than Uruguay.
My God.
So,
Okay, now I'm going to talk about marine pollution. It is easy to say that oceans are so vast and deep that no matter how much waste or trash humans throw into oceans, at the end of the day it doesn't matter because they are just really huge. But that is not true. However, there's a lot of people that used to believe that, and they have a catchphrase which goes like, the solution to pollution is dilution, which is a mechanism like that. It helps to clean the water, but of course it is not enough. Pollution is the introduction of harmful contaminants that are outside the norm for a given ecosystem. That is to say, for example, plastic bags, chemicals, or whatever that not only people throw into the ocean, but also, for example, carbon emissions or things like that end up polluting also the oceans. All these contaminants, pollutants, they are called pollutants, end up in the bottom of the ocean, and animals, like organisms that you have just seen, end up eating them, and that is introduced into the food chain. So somehow they are affecting not only small organisms that you have just seen, but also humans, us. There are many ways to to categorize the pollutants, but there are like three great groups, which are first of all, the direct discharge of waste into oceans. Perhaps you have heard about this because, for example, just a few years ago, in 2010, there was an oil slip into the Gulf of Mexico that was huge, and the result of that is catastrophic. I mean, a lot of animals have died, and well, we all know what happens after that. The runoff into the waters due to rain. This is even worse now because of the city. I mean, now that the ground can't absorb water. I mean, like from the rain, that water at some point ends up in the ocean, and also that's the trash that we throw into the streets, or that I don't know, that perhaps you don't throw that paper into the street, but somehow that will end in the ocean because they are not well treated. And also pollutants that are released from the atmosphere, as I have just said, for example, carbon emissions or things like that. In a way, we can say that some of these things cannot be solved by us, but that's not true, because in some way, the only way that we have to fight against this is by being conscientious about this. And there's a quote that is very popular and says something like, "There's no lost battles, but those in which you don't fight," and that's true. So, well, now.
As you can imagine, we're going to talk about the drug legalization, against the drug legalization. Well, nowadays, in the vast majority of the countries of the world, the use of drugs, the recreational use, is forbidden. Many countries fight against the trafficking of the drugs in different places of the world. Today, the United States, that is the country that led the surge against the drugs, calling it the war on drugs, they perceive drugs as detrimental to society, that they destroy the possibility to think, or they are harmless, in fact. Well, through the history of the world, many prohibition or liberalization of drugs took place. In the 16th century, for example, the Pope, Clement VIII, illegalized coffee because he believed that was intoxicant. And in response to the rising use of drugs among young people and the counterculture movement that took place in the 60s, the governments of different parts of the world, also the United States during Republican and Democratic administrations, start to fight against the traffic of drugs. But year by year, the money that was spent on fighting against drugs was increasing, and also increasing the illegal traffic of drugs. So this is the traffic of drugs being successful? Not really. Well, so the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that in 2010, the illegal market of drugs moved around $300 billion. And in 2014, $500 billion. Traffickers are increasingly looking for new routes for trafficking drugs. Estimates around this office, the United Nations Office Against Crime and Drugs, estimate that in the last year, the traffic of cocaine was around 800 and 1,000 tons. Just this only last year, and only talking about cocaine. Because drug possession is a victimless crime, I mean the only victim is you, that you are the consumer of the drug. Many governments want to enforce prohibition. Many times going into your house and trying to find if you are trafficking drugs or smuggling drugs. But this has been quite difficult for many governments, because you are in part trading against the civil rights that a person has to have their own privacy. I was talking about the counterculture movement because many bands has, in a way, sing songs and write songs about the legalization of drugs, talking about experiences. Many bands such as Guns N' Roses, Pink Floyd, the Beatles. The Beatles have written a song that is called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That is the acronym of LSD, a drug that is psychoactive. Also, Eric Clapton, that wasn't so polite to writing a song about an acronym and name a song Cocaine. Also, Jimi Hendrix, Oasis, and another vast amount of bands and singers. Well, nowadays with this crisis that took place in the United States in the year 2008, many people said, well, let's legalize drugs and generate tax income. This is a little perverse because why governments do they need income, tax income? Well, to improve public health or public education. But this is quite a contradiction because in favor of destroying the health of the people, you are improving the economic recovery. And also, if you are in favor of legalizing drugs, well, I mean, human trafficking also could be legalized because many people, these modern day slaves, will generate a really good and high tax to rescue failed banks, for example. Well, and that has a poor fiscal logic because any reduction in the cost of the drugs control because you are not, for example, controlling anymore the marijuana, will be this reduction will be offset by much more money that needs to be invested on public health because the surge of drug consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Caused by deforestation. Okay. It's yours. Okay. Sorry.
Today, more than the 20% of the Amazon rainforest has been destroyed and it's gone forever. The forests are complex ecosystems that are important to the carbon and water cycles that sustain life on Earth. When they are degraded, it can set off a devastating change of events both locally and around the world. 70% of the world's plants and animals live in forests and are losing their habitat to deforestation. A lot of habitat can lead to species extinction. And this is not only a biodiversity tragedy, but only has negative consequences for medicinal research and local population who rely on the animals in the forest for hunting and for medicine. The carbon emission, a healthy forest helps to absorb the greenhouse gases and the carbon emission that are caused by human civilization and contribute to global climate change. Without trees, more carbon and greenhouse gases enter the atmosphere. It will make the matter worse. Without the trees and the greenhouses, trees actually become carbon sources when they are cut or burned or removed. Trees play an important part in the water cycle, grounding the water into their roots and releasing it into the atmosphere. In the Amazon, more than half of the water in the ecosystem is held within the plants. Without the plants, the climate may become drier. Also, the tree roots anchor the soil, and with increased exposure to sun, the soil can dry out, leading to problems like increased flooding and inability to farm. Also, soil erosion can lead to silt entering the lakes, streams, and other water sources. And this can decrease the local water quality, contributing to poor health in the local pollution.
estimated that 10 million the native people were living in the Amazon about 500 years ago. Today there are less than 200,000 indigenous people left in the Amazon. More than 90 tribes have been destroyed. Most of shadows and medicine men remaining are 70 years old or more. With them goes the wealth of knowledge of medicinal species and organisms.